What up, everyone? Welcome back to Just a Minute. Welcome to the first episode of 2022. Hey, man, I'm fired up. As always, I'm your HoopSeen host, Austin Smith, and I'm joined for the first time in a new year with my brother, Justin Young, and he is our editor-in-chief here at HoopSeen.com. JY, let me go ahead and get the corny phrase out the way. Brother, I haven't seen you since last year. Where you been, man?
How you been? You know what? I've been upstairs in my house, laid up in the bed. I got COVID after the last time we had our show. So I've been off the road. Santa Claus, kind of patted me on the head from a distance. And, yeah, man, I've been better, but I'm excited for what 2022 can be because it can't be as bad as what having COVID was. So luckily we got that behind us, out of the way.
Well, we're glad you're doing better, man, and glad you're recovered. We need you at full health. That's a 100% fact, and I'm glad to have you back now. That's the biggest thing we can say off that.
I know I miss being in the gym, and I miss having our show. So I'm glad that we're starting 2022 off on the right foot.
Well, absolutely, brother. A new year means another great season of podcasts. I love the first edition we did so far and how we capped off 2021 in a strong way. It was super dope. And for all of y'all who missed the podcast in 2021, go back and watch them so you can get caught up to speed, so you can know how we do things here on Just a Minute. In my opinion, one of the dopest basketball shows around to give you the exclusive coverage on Grassroots Basketball here from East Coast to the West Coast. So check some of that out. But with that being said, JY, we are officially in year 10 here at HoopSeen, man. And wow, what about it, brother? You got to tell us about it, man. You're behind it, bro.
Well, I'm not. Mike Eddy was really the brain trust behind it. And it's been really cool to see our company grow from just an idea that literally Mike and I sat down and really kind of formulated on napkins, like literally like at a Panera Bread, and really take that idea and that idea for what we had and expand on what Mike had already created. He already had HoopSeen there, but we really kind of took it to a different level with the travel team events and really grew it in from a really small regional program to now an event company that's all over North America. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of our team. I love working with Mike, and I love the vision that we've both shared and what we've been able to grow it to. And, it's funny, man. I was thinking about this a lot. When you're sick and you're laid up in bed, you think about a lot of stuff, right? Because you have nothing but time on your hands. And like when you get to the end of Netflix, because you watched every British baking show that there is on the internet or on Netflix, you kind of like, all right, well, let me get a little deep with it. And I've been thinking a lot about like what we've been able to accomplish, and more so of the platform that it is to help people go to college, to help people enjoy the game that we all love, to have competitive experiences in the spring and the summertime. But moreover, the team that we've been able to have at HoopSeen, to have people like you and, our entire team that we currently have, and people that have been there before us, the people that have been there from day one, like Coach Bird and Jesse Bird, and to go from a guy that coached in our event to now working our events to recruiting our events and just different people we've had over the years. Our good friend Eric Ellison, who was part of our founding group as we got started, Robert Alfonso, Mr. HoopSeen from the early OG days. Remember, we used to even have like a black and red like logo was different. We had like a raised platform that we would do broadcasts with our friends at SUV TV back in the day. So we've gone from really a small regional thing. I'll share one story, and I share this a lot with our team. Austin, we had an event down in Columbus, Georgia, when we first got started as a Georgia Cup event. And it was in March, the NCAA tournament was going on. So me, Mike Eddy, Eric Ellison, and Robert Alfonso went to like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something to watch the game. And like sat there, we were all just pretty quiet because I think we had like 20 teams or something like that in Columbus, Georgia for this Georgia Cup. And man, we were like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if we're going to be able to put something together, but because we wanted to take the Georgia Cup and move it all over the state of Georgia. And now, we have 100 teams on average per Georgia Cup, and we have teams coming in from all over the Southeast. We had an event, from all over the place. We have events in Arizona. We ran events in Alabama and Florida and the Carolinas and Tennessee and Kentucky and in Virginia and, all over the place. It's amazing to see like what we've grown, but we haven't been able to do that without having unbelievable people along the way, like Ty Young, who's awesome with our team, obviously Daniel Paccioni. Again, I mentioned Eric. I mentioned all the, Corey Evans, who's been with us, is now working in the NBA. Justin Byerly, Garrett Tucker, Brianna Patton, Josh Tech, DeCourtland Christian. I mean, I'm going down the line. Todd Zollinger, Justin Vargas, Carter Wilson. I mean, there's so many people, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. And just even like the OGs like Ty Freeman, who was there taking photos with us, Brandon Anthony, Trey Morrell. Again, I'm probably forgetting 1,000 people. So, but it's really cool to see, and it's been really awesome to really have a family of people that have grown with us along the way. And it's always fun to see where we've been. But 10 years, bro, man, that's crazy.
Well, the biggest thing I took from that was the special group of people. You
Yeah.
listed a bunch of names, and I don't have a personal relationship with everybody, but at least about 65, 70% of the names you listed, I know, and I've had conversations with, and I've gotten to know over the past 4 years, man. And listen, those are phenomenal people. And when you get around phenomenal people, they build organizations. It's about the people, man. What you all have been able to build has been pretty incredible. Hey, man, I'm glad I've been able to be a part of it for sure. That's a fact.
No doubt. It's really cool. And I think that's something that we're excited about celebrating moving forward. And I want to do that this year on the podcast with the honor of those that have played. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our guy, Andre Whitehead, as well up in Tennessee. So Andre is a day one guy. But, man, it's so cool. And I'm excited to see what the next 10 years hold for us here at HoopSeen, Austin. Let's see what we got up our sleeve.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. And again, to everyone viewing, if you've been rocking with us here at HoopSeen for the past 10 years, thank you on behalf of our entire staff. And best believe we've got some stuff cooking for you coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Don't leave. We're still getting better and better as these years continue to roll by. So thank you all for your support. All right, JY, let's keep this ball rolling, brother. Let's talk about it just a minute for today's episode. Let's get right to it with some commitments of the week. We've got some notable ones, and all right, and people I think are kind of on the recruiting landscape may know a couple of these people. Some of them may not, but let's get the inside scoop. Let's talk about Kamari Lance to Louisville first, JY. What do you think he's going to bring when he steps foot on campus?
Yeah, big time shot making ability. He's out here in Arizona. He's at Hillcrest Prep. He previously was at La Lu in Indiana, was also previously committed to Syracuse. So a guy that's been around, a guy that we've seen before, but here's what he is. He can break down a zone because he can really stretch the floor. He's a big shooter with great size. He's playing at Hillcrest, a really offensive-centric program, as a program like we saw last year with Mike Foster, who's now killing it with G League Ignite. I think Kamari Lance is going to be coming into college with an unbelievable understanding on how to take that round ball that we love and putting it through that thing that's 10 feet up in the air. And he can spray it from all over the perimeter. And if we look at Louisville's team this year, they need some shot makers. They need some guys that can break down a zone. They need a guy that can guard in a zone. And I think Kamari Lance is that kind of guy. But really, when we look at the class of 2022, he's definitely one of the best guys that was still available. And if you can add a guy like Kamari Lance going into the second signing period, that's a value add to your program. The Cardinals certainly got one of the best available. I actually really love this commitment for them, and I think he'll be a really good player for Chris Mack in their program.
Well, hopefully so, man. I believe he'll be good, too. I know one thing's for certain. Our Josh Tech is going to be all over this. Come on, listen. Josh and I have had so many conversations about Louisville basketball. I feel like I'm a Louisville basketball fan now, man. I know everything. He should write an encyclopedia about the program. He's a super fan. So he'll have his eye on Kamari Lance, and we will, too, as he continues to progress in his career forward. Let's talk about another local prospect, JY. Let's talk about Sammy Pieces, and he's here playing currently at Middle Georgia Prep, but he recently committed to Southeastern Louisiana. Tell us a little bit about what you like about Sammy and what you think he can bring to their program.
Well, what I love about him is he's ultra competitive. And it's funny, like when you talk to college coaches, he's one of those guys, they're like, hey, I need like this type of player. Like, hey, man, I got a really good one that you guys should go recruit at Sammy Pieces. And he's unbelievable. And every coach will be like, you know what? I watched this film. I saw him in person. I love him. Okay, have you guys offered him? No, we haven't offered him. And he's one of those guys. And so finally, like, I'm really glad somebody saw the value there. And I think Southeast Louisiana, we talk about this all the time on our show, right? Like bracket busters.
Right.
He's going to be that type of guy that I think puts them in a position in the postseason and really maybe hits a shot or gets a stop or gets to the back to the basket. There's a Fred Van Vliet value, I think, with Sammy Pieces at that level. He's going to rip your heart out. He's going to make all those coaches that didn't offer him or really recruit him, go make him pay. The guy's a really good player, and I think one of the most significant commitments out of Georgia's 2022 class. Even though he was a post-grad, he gets another year under his belt before getting to college. I think it's a terrific pickup for them in a situation where I think Sammy can get there and play right away.
Well, here's a notable feat about Sammy. When Scoot Henderson did make the decision to go and play with the G League team, Game Elite needed to find another playmaker, another scorer in general, somebody that can take the load and kind of carry their program a bit during the summer. And on our stage here, HoopSeen, Sammy did that, and he had some really good performances, and we did some interviews with him. And so the game is there, the competitive nature, the grit, the toughness, all of that is there with Sammy. And you talk about players picking the right school that fits their game. This will be one to keep an eye out, because we give you the exclusive bracket busters here on Just a Minute. Don't say we didn't warn you come March. Go ahead and get ready for it now. I felt good on that one, JY. I like that.
Oh, good. Own it, man. He's not just gonna bust a bracket. He's gonna rip it up and burn it up, man. Like that guy's tough, man.
Yes, sir. Sammy will be one to watch. All right, I got another one for you, JY. Let's talk about Mari Jordan, who's going to UGA. He plays at Decula High School right now. Tell us a little bit about Mari and what you've seen from him and what he can do down in Athens.
Yeah, we've seen him quite a bit coming up over the years. He plays for our guy, Byron Wilson, who's also part of our HoopSeen family, who's worked with us. By the way, I forgot to mention Jannard Hartley, who's also part of the fam. And Jannard's worked with us in so many capacities, and I love having him on the team. So I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Jannard as well. So that's what happens when you get old and COVID brain. I'd never you're going to leave somebody out. But anyways, so Byron Wilson coaches over there at Decula, and he had Mari Jordan as a young guy. And I remember even as a freshman, he was like, Justin, this guy's going to be really, really good. Georgia got involved really early, right down the road. Decula to Athens is a pretty easy drive. And Tom Crean and his staff identified him early, and they've done a great job of recruiting in the state. Mari Jordan, a 6'5" athletic slasher, gets better every single year, keeps stacking up those good years. For an in-state commitment, I really like that. And Georgia's done a really nice job of landing high-end players within the state borders, and I think a really important commitment at this juncture in the Tom Crean era out there in Athens. So really like that commitment. Anytime you can add a top 150 national prospect like Mari Jordan, you got to get that done in your own state.
Yep, good pickup for UGA for sure. Tom Crean continues to find these guys in the Peach State and build them over, bring them over to UGA and get them under that classic good old Tom Crean development that we've seen over the years. Okay, let's hit some trending topics now, JY. Let's talk about the youth in the West. I want to go ahead and give the West Coast some love right now. And there are obviously some players out there who've caught your eye. Who are you liking, JY, in some of these underclassmen classes, or these youth players out there in general?
Yeah, there's a lot to like out here in the West for the 24 and 25 class. And I spent a lot of time watching film, man. When you're laid up, you're bored, you're trying to go through, you're trying to watch as much as you can. I'm still watching a lot of film from the Damien and even from down in Torrey Pines, and saw a lot of really good players out here in the West. But what I'm interested in is the depth of overall talent there is in the 24 and 25 classes. We're talking about a lot of dudes. And there were, and we didn't even have everybody there in the West playing at these events. It just shows you how much depth there is at the position. I want to run through a couple of guys. I thought Liam Campbell from Owyhee High School in Idaho, we've talked about him before. I really liked him a lot back at Section 7. Really liked him a lot when I saw him up at the Great Western Classic, or maybe it was the Border League. I can't remember, back in the fall. But I think Liam Campbell is a guy out of 2024 class. A Southern California native, played at Harvard Westlake, moved up to the Boise, Idaho area. He lit it up out there at the Damien. If you didn't already know who he was, if you're in the West Coast, you certainly know who he is now. You know, we got the likes like Stanford and a number of schools in the Pac-12, I think, are starting to wise up. Washington State just offered him. But we're talking about a dynamic three-level scorer, ultra competitive, really, really smart player. But to me, is really starting to establish himself as one of the premier guards in the 2024 class. And he's out of the state of Idaho. So again, what have I been saying all along? I mean, there's some ball players in the state of Idaho, and Liam Campbell certainly fits that bill and is really one of the best guys that we have in the West overall in 2024 class.
Good deal. So you mentioned, JY, the Classic at Damien High School being a big time event in Southern California that happened over the holiday break. Tell us a little bit about that event. Who were some other players you took an eye on? Who'd you like? What teams you enjoy seeing? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I really like Victorious Miller out of Crean Lutheran. I saw him in Vegas at the Tark Classic, followed up and watched him on film. We're talking about a five-star guy in the 2024 class who is – he's as effortless of a scorer that I think that I've seen in the West since I've been out here. It comes so easy to him. It's a natural ability for him to put the ball through the iron. 6'5", 6'6", super smooth. Never really rattled, never really rushed. just an absolute basketball player that's going to play at a high level for a really long time. Definitive top 25 guy in the 2024 class, and really one of the premier prospects out in the West. Love what I saw from him, and I love the idea of what he can become as an 18, 19, 20, 21, and so on and so forth type of guy. I think he's got a long, bright future, and really one of the premier guys that I saw at the Classic of Damien.
I love it. I love it. Let's move on to another player. Let's talk about Carter Bryant of Fountain Valley. Tell us about him, JY.
Yeah, interesting guy, 6'8", inside outside kind of guy. Got a sneak peek at him at the Tark Classic, followed up at the Damien. And I think what we have here is a multi-positional guy that can get you inside and get you outside. I saw Paul George at the same, I think it was the same age as a sophomore, maybe it was his junior year. I'm not saying he's Paul George, but that same sort of body type and that same sort of interchangeability where Paul can get you beat down low, but can also step out and hit a three. Right. I think we're starting to see that type of development that we have with Carter Bryant. Is a guy that I think will be a top 100 player, and a guy that all the Pac-12 and maybe even Big 12, Big 10, maybe more of a national recruitment moving forward. But I think we're just starting to hear the very first inklings of a national narrative when you're looking at a guy like Carter Bryant. I think he's trending upward and certainly justifiable with the physical tools that he has with the game to match. So really interesting high-level prospect.
Good deal. Carter Bryant, got to add him to the prospect list. All right, let's talk and shine a light on Bishop Gorman real quick. We want them having a pretty high prestige program over the years. They got a duo that you like, JY, and Jace Richardson and Junie Mobley. Tell us about both prospects and what makes them a dynamic duo to keep an eye on.
You know, sometimes with young players, there's a lack of patience or understanding of a process, right? And so last year, both of these guys were freshmen playing at Bishop Gorman, obviously one of the premier programs. They had to find their roles and they had to kind of wait their turn a little bit. Now, here they are going in their sophomore year. You could argue that most sophomores don't really have a big role quite yet, but these two guys have. I thought Junie Mobley was really a key guy in them winning the Tark Classic. Obviously, Darren Williams was the MVP of that event for Bishop Gorman at the Tark. And you got Ryan Abelman, who's going to Northern Arizona, but it was Junie Mobley's shooting that reminded me a lot of a young CJ McCollum. Now, I don't want to profess that I'm a CJ McCollum expert and saw it coming, but there's some physical attributes that are similar along with the shooting that makes you wonder how good is he going to be when his body starts to, add 3 or 4 more inches and he starts to grow into his frame. He gets me really excited about the type of player that he can become at the collegiate level. But in the moment now, very good player, good enough to help a program like Bishop Gorman be like a top 15 team in the country. Now with Jace Richardson, the son of NBA player Jason Richardson, he's got all the tools. He's got a coolness to him, a confidence. I've been there. I'm not really rattled kind of spirit to him. They went undefeated in their run between these two holiday tournaments and really had one of the best runs of any team in the country for the Christmas holiday break. And I think Jace Richardson had a lot to do with that, with his IQ, with his driving, with his shot making ability. When you talk to him, he doesn't sound like a sophomore in high school. He sounds like a guy that's already played about 80 to 100 games at the varsity level, but understands like what it takes to be great. So, man, that duo, if they're already 15-0 or 16-0, I think right now, who's to say that they can't go that kind of stretch moving forward the rest of their high school career there at Bishop Gorman? They're a team that could maybe only lose 1 or 2 games their entire career there at Bishop Gorman. That's pretty impressive.
Wow. Well, with those two already getting things in motion, there'll definitely be a program to look at. We talk about national programs and programs that compete on that top tier list year in and year out. Definitely Jace Richardson and Junie Mobley will have an eye on them indeed. Let's keep moving. Let's talk about Braden Burry of Riverside Poly. Yeah. What intrigues you about him as a prospect?
Everything, man, everything. Riverside Poly is young, and they really did some work out there at the Damien. Really interesting guy, 6'4". Like we talked about Victorious Miller, like really comes easy to him. The minute you turn on the game, you're like, that's the guy. Like you just kind of know there's an it factor to him, the way that he competes, the way that he plays, the way he attacks, the way he guards. I really like what I saw from Braden Burry. I think he's going to be one of those guys from the 2025 class that we're going to hear a lot about. There are going to be a lot of chapters written about this young man during his career, particularly in Southern California out there in Riverside. So a guy that I think will be a high-level competitor and a player that we see in all the national rankings when those start to really kind of formalize themselves for those younger guys. And I tell you, man, keeping that same narrative, we talk about the 25 class. LZ Harrington's a guy that has some elite pop to him.
Okay.
If you already follow like the younger levels of basketball, you know about LZ Harrington already. But I think now that he's in high school, it's a different ball game. You're at a different crossroads of your career. We're starting to see some things to him that maybe puts him in contention for maybe a top 5, top 10 overall in the nation. But LZ Harrington's a guy that if you want to go over to YouTube and after you've liked and subscribed this video already, go check him out and see what he's all about. And you'll be like, okay, that's the guy right there. ELZIE Harrington.
Man, okay. Gotta check him out then. JY gave the stamp of approval. Let me go ahead and look him up. Say Showtime. That's good. All right, Jay. Well, we appreciate that, man. Definitely a lot of prospects on that list. A lot of guys who are continuing to improve their stock. A lot of guys who are making a name for themselves. And that's what it's all about here. And that's what we love talking about here on this show, is giving players that spotlight when they're out there handling their business on the basketball court. So kudos to those guys, man. Keep building. And hey, as you continue to play, prospects who are listening, bring your game, not your name, and ultimately have your name pop up on the show as well here on Just a Minute. On tap, JY, now that we're finally here in 2022, I had to stop myself for a second. I was like, 2021? No, 2022. I'm sorry about that. There are a couple of events we got on our HoopSeen calendar that are coming up, and we want to make sure we highlight them. The Next Gen Jam, and then our tip-off events, JY. I'll let you take it over from there.
Yeah, Next Gen Jam is the preeminent middle school event that we have. It's our really our first event of the year at HoopSeen on the 2022 schedule at the famed Swanee Sports Academy in Northeast Metro Atlanta. Our guy Reggie Riley's building himself a monster. We got teams coming in from all over. Really, I think it's east of the Mississippi. Yeah, I think so. I think we got teams coming from all over the place from east of the Mississippi for this event. If you want to know more about it, email him at rriley, RRILEY at hoopseen.com. Really the preeminent middle school teams in the country. It's a great chance for us to see teams before they hit that high school level. It's a great opportunity for us to identify some potential HoopSeen association teams, as well as some players. There'll be guys we talk about maybe next year or year beyond as really some of the top players in the country. And so it's a good opportunity for our staff to get them seen, get them written about, get our staff, get some eyes on them and see what they're all about. So that's our first event coming up in February. Let me tell you the dates exactly on that as we're looking at all of our details for HoopSeen Next Gen Jam. You know, I just had it on my phone. You know, when your phone like locks up and then you get like all thrown off. Just go to hoopseen.com/events. It's going to be.
I got you, JY. February 19th, February 20th.
Thank you.
2020. There you go, brother. I got you.
So that's our first event on the schedule. Then about a month later, we've got our 2 HoopSeen tip-off events, March 25th through the 27th. We're going to have one there in Atlanta at Swanee Sports Academy, and one as well out here at Legacy at Bell Bank Park here in Mesa, Arizona. So we've got 2 options, both coasts. It's an unbelievable way to start your story, get our media team on you, get our videos and photos and our stories and our social media. How do we help your team start the narrative for what should be an important year in 2022? You do that at the HoopSeen tip-off, and you can go register today at hoopseen.com/events.
One more time, again, that's hoopseen.com/events. Put more emphasis on that.
Go get it.
Go get it and go register right now. I'll add my 2 cents on that too, JY. I'm officially years old where I've seen some of these players that have played in Next Gen Jam grow up to now finally be getting recruited and getting scholarship offers. So that's been pretty cool. And again, you talk about how you get an opportunity to start your story early. And then ultimately here at HoopSeen, we're able to keep that story for you, keep it going. We added to our database and we'll be able to have that file for you. So when college coaches, come to recruit you, they're able to see what you've been able to do over the past years. And then again, the HoopSeen tip-off, JY said it, but I'll say it again. It's the best place to start your season in 2022 because you're able to match up against apples to apples like we always talk about. You can see where your team matches up against some of the best, and we got 2 stops for you on the East Coast and on the West Coast. So players and team, there's no excuse. You can make sure you're ready to go. Teams, everybody, get ready for your season by being a part of our HoopSeen tip-off. So you can go ahead and get your season started off the right way. And again, just like JY said, hoopseen.com/events is your place to be. So you can go ahead and get your teams registered for both of those events. All right, JY, man, that wraps it up for number 1. Brother, any last words for you on the first edition here of Just a Minute in 2022?
Oh, man, just do the work. Just do the work. That's how you stick in whatever you do, man. Just go do the work.
I love it. Well, you heard the man just like that, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Austin Smith, your HoopSeen host, and my guy next to me, as always, is the editor-in-chief here at HoopSeen.com. He is Justin Young. Thanks for tuning in to the very first edition of Just a Minute here in 2022. We look forward to seeing you in the next edition coming up very, very soon. And as a reminder, you can stay up to date with everything HoopSeen exclusively on HoopSeen.com. See y'all soon.